You're a project professional, not a salesman or a marketer. Wrong. Just a quick reminder of the 6 pillars of the challenge framework. We've got clarity, score the biggest goal, little and often, brand and position, talk, 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 and complexity kills. The 3 phrases associated with the brand and position pillar are brand your project, position it well, tell a powerful story where the customer's the hero. Just before we get started then, a couple of definitions. A brand is a name, term, design, symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's good or service as distinct from those of other sellers. When we apply the term brand to a project here, we're really looking to make the project identifiable easily, clear, consistent, and understandable. Usually within a business, there's lots of activities going on simultaneously, and it's important that your project stands out from the crowd, the general noise of the environment, and delivers a message that's simple, clear, consistent, and easily understandable. The second term to define then is positioning. When we say positioning, we mean marketing the brand or product in a certain way to create and establish an image or identity within the minds of customers. I know that you're a project professional, but you're also in the game of marketing and selling your project. It's really important to position your project in an interesting, engaging, and lively way so that customers can clearly understand the value and benefits that you're offering them in a very short space of time. The title of each pillar is a single word or a short phrase which is designed to be easily remembered. However, a good way to unlock the power of that pillar is to ask a series of related questions. The first question then to ask is, what is your organization's mission and brand values? The second question, how are they manifest and aligned in your project? The first question is asking what your organization's mission and brand values are. What is it that your organization is trying to do in a grand scale, in a big sense? And also, what brand values does it stand for? What values are important to the organization and are clearly, visibly, and obviously demonstrated to customers? Perhaps your organization feels very strongly about social responsibility or recycling or some other cause. It's important to try and understand how these are manifest, these organizational missions and brand values are manifest or could be manifest inside of your project. It's important from a customer's perspective to make sure that the product and output of your project are aligned with your organizational mission and values. It'll become really obvious to the customer if your project's brand values or mission don't align with your organization's. If, for example, one of your organization's brand values is social responsibility and care and consideration for the environment, then producing a project which turns out lots and lots of paperwork is probably not a good idea and certainly fails in the alignment test. If your project is already in flight, it's worth going back and just considering how aligned it is in terms of its mission and its brand values with those of your organization. We've been passing on information and knowledge through stories for thousands and thousands of years, and that is not going to change. Stories are a part and parcel of being human. They're not going to go anywhere, and in fact, their usage, I think, is going to increase through time, particularly in the business world. In the same way that a picture paints 1,000 words, an interesting, engaging, and lively story can pass on a huge amount of information in a very short space of time and in a very memorable way. The idea of using stories in a business context is relatively new, but is really powerful. When we're talking about showing and demonstrating to customers the value of the outputs of your project, the use of a story is a very simple, natural, and powerful means of doing that. The Story Brand Framework is a structured approach to storytelling which is growing in strength and usage within the business environment. It's based on a book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. It's a New York bestseller, and it's something which is increasingly being adopted by businesses. The Story Brand Framework is composed of 7 sections. A character who wants something encounters a problem before they can get it. At the peak of their despair, a guide steps into their lives, gives them a plan, and calls them to action. That action helps them avoid failure and ends in a success. The first thing to notice is who is the hero of the story. It isn't us, It isn't the project team and it isn't the company selling to the customer. It's the customer. The customer is the hero of their own story. So where does that leave us in terms of the supplier or the producer of the outputs of the project? We are the guides. We position ourselves as the guide that helps and supports the hero of the story, i.e. the customer. In this way, then, the customer is the hero of their own story, and it's the customer who has the problem that we are looking to solve for them. We need to consider what that problem is and how high stakes, how valuable it is for the customer to fix. If it's something that's really valuable and really important problem for them to fix and something that's causing them a lot of pain on a daily basis, or if it's just something small and minor and just a bit of a niggle, the size and magnitude of the problem that we're looking to fix and address for the customer is really important, and it's something that needs to be part of the message that we communicate. When we're talking about the nature of the problems that we're solving for customers, it's worth bearing in mind that companies tend to sell solutions to external problems, those that are plainly obvious, but customers tend to buy solutions based on internal problems that they're solving, i.e. how those problems make them feel. The plan describes how the guide will solve and address the hero's problem. The plan needs to describe in 2 or 3 simple steps what is required by the customer to complete the journey and receive the value and benefit from the project that we're delivering to them. The next step is that the guide calls the hero to action. We need to tell the hero what they must do to overcome their problem. Now, this could be very simple and you might think it's obvious and intuitive, but it's important to lay those simple steps out to the customer. The next part that ends in success is about showing to the customer what the world looks like after they've received the results and benefits of that project. We're looking to show fundamental and significant changes and improvements that have resulted directly from the outputs of the project. The final element then is that helps them avoid failure, i.e. what happens if they don't buy or use your project outputs? Similar to how we were trying to show large-scale improvements and changes as a result of them receiving the value and output of the project, what we're trying to show when they fail to use those outputs of the project is how bad the world can look. If the project is of limited value and interest to them, then not taking or using those outputs is going to have a limited impact. If, however, the project is of high value and high significance to them, then failing to use those outputs can have a significant impact negatively on their environment. The Story Brand Framework outlines a number of key principles which are worth bearing in mind when you structure and design the story that you're going to tell about your project. So the first principle is that the customer is the hero, not you and not your brand and not what it is you're selling to them. The second principle is that companies tend to sell solutions to external problems, those which are clearly plainly obvious in the world and in the environment, but that customers buy solutions to internal problems, i.e. how those problems are making them feel. The third principle, customers aren't looking for another hero, they're looking for a guide. Principle 4, customers trust a guide who has a plan. Principle 5, customers do not take action unless they are challenged to take action. Principle 6, every human being is trying to avoid a tragic ending. Principle 7, never assume people understand how your brand can change their lives. Tell them. I think it's time well spent to craft a simple, engaging, inviting story around the project that you're delivering and its outputs and the value and impact that it's going to have on your customer. Stories will continue to be an important part of our lives going forwards, inside and outside of work. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting and useful. Please be sure to check out other videos in this series. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't, and please leave comments in the comments section.